Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back. This is the very last part of Oedipus. This is part 4. So when we left off, Oedipus and Jocasta had both run off stage after their
discoveries.
Yes, their revelations of the truth about themselves, their marriage, all of the above, their children. So we're going to see what exactly happens to them. And fittingly, we get told by a messenger. So again, this is like what we talked about with the 7 characters of Greek drama. We hear from somebody who has witnessed the stuff that went on off stage.
We just never see
correct
violence, death. You never see it. No.
All right. Starting with messenger.
That's right. Enter a messenger from the palace.
Men of Thebes, always first in honor, what horrors you will hear, what you will see, what a heavy weight of sorrow you will shoulder. If you are true to your birth, if you still have some feeling for the royal house at Thebes, I tell you neither the Danube nor the Nile can wash this palace clean. Such things it hides it soon will bring to light, terrible things, and none done blindly now, all done with a will. The pains we inflict upon ourselves hurt most of all.
God knows we have pains enough already. What can you add to them?
The queen is dead.
Oh, poor lady, how?
By her own hand. But you are spared the worst. You never had to watch. I saw it all, and with all the memory that's in me, you will learn what that poor woman suffered. So, by her own hand means what?
Suicide.
Correct.
That's why there was a long, tense silence that followed her screaming and exiting the stage.
Correct. So, Greeks viewed suicide very differently than I think Western cultures do, and particularly Americans. This would have actually been, it's a lot like Romans, so think Julius Caesar. This actually would have been an honorable mode of dealing with what happened. So, rather than living in the shame and all that kind of stuff. So I think in American culture, suicide is often seen as escape, as a weakness, as those kinds of things.
Right.
It would not have been viewed that way in Greek culture. And wouldn't have been thought of as like something that should be punished either, right? There's a thought in Western Christian tradition that suicide automatically means bad things.
Right.
But in Greek culture, that would not have meant that you would go to like their worst version of hell. You could still make it to Elysium, which would have been their nice version, because they just didn't see it as that big of a deal. So for Jocasta, this is kind of her only way to really deal with this. And the way that Oedipus deals with it, as we'll see, is a very different thing. So, yeah. That also, so he talks about the waters of the Danube and the Nile. What are those?
Those are both rivers.
Big ones.
The longest in Europe, the longest in Africa.
Right. So Danube's in Germany.
Yes.
I always forget that. So yeah, they're huge, massive rivers, and he says, none of the waters of either of these places can wash this palace clean. So that shows you the level of disgust that's going on here. And again, why Jocasta would have felt that this was her only option, because of how soiled her reputation is, how terrible it is at this point. Once she'd broken in through the gates, dashing past us frantic, whipped to fury, ripping her hair out with both hands, straight to her room she rushed, flinging herself across the bridal bed, doors slamming behind her. Once inside, she wailed for Laius, dead so long, remembering how she bore his child long ago, the life that rose up to destroy him, leaving its mother to mother living creatures with the very son she'd born. Oh, how she wept, mourning the marriage bed where she let loose that double brood, monsters, husband by her husband, children by her child. And again, that disgust bit there.
Yeah, they do feel. They feel bad for them, but they're still not okay.
Yeah, because brood is like a litter, but like not like puppies. It's like of gross things.
Yes.
In terms of like the connotations of them. And then, but how she died is more than I can say. Suddenly Oedipus burst in, screaming. He stunned us so we couldn't watch her agony to the end. Our eyes were fixed on him, circling like a maddened beast, stalking here, there, crying out to us. Give him a sword, his wife, no wife, his mother. Where can he find the Mother Earth that cropped 2 crops at once, himself and all his children? He was raging, one of the dark powers pointing the way, none of us mortals crowding around him, no. With a great shattering cry, someone, something leading him on, he hurled at the twin doors and bending the bolts back out of their sockets, crashed through the chamber. And there we saw the woman hanging by the neck, cradled high in a woven noose, spinning, swinging back and forth. And when he saw her, giving a low, wrenching sob that broke our hearts, slipping the halter from her throat, he eased her down in a slow embrace. He laid her down, poor thing. Then what came next? What horror we beheld. So Jocasta commits suicide through hanging. What distracts the chorus from the messenger, I guess, from being able to see Jocasta's death?
I would say an adrenaline-filled Oedipus stalking like a maddened beast distracted them pretty effectively.
Yeah, screaming, shouting, asking for a sword. They don't know why. Is it to kill Jocasta? Is it to kill himself? All of us. Like, what's happening here? I find this so tragic. It's so sad because he's lost his wife and mother, right? So again, he's been his wife for 15 years. And as we talked about before, they had a loving, supportive, strong relationship as husband and wife. So you lost your parent and your partner in one fell swoop.
After you found out what happened.
After you found out the most horrible things you could ever possibly find out about yourself. So it's a double loss, and it's deeply, horribly tragic.
So I thought it was very appropriate that even though he was completely crazed in the beginning, the moment that he sees her and sees what she has done, the very first thing that he does involves her. And he's very caring and he's very nurturing, and he takes her down from that very symbolic place where she chose to hang herself.
Yes, yeah, right above their bed. The other thing is that, so he says that that broke our hearts, right? So again, as disgusted as they are with Oedipus and Jocasta,
absolutely,
this still hurt them, which again shows you how tragic it actually is for everybody.
Right.
He rips off her brooches, the long gold pins holding her robes, and lifting them high, looking straight up into the points, he digs them down the sockets of his eyes, crying, You'll never see the pain I suffered, all the pain I caused. Too long you looked on the ones you never should have seen, blind to the ones you longed to see, to know. Blind from this hour on, blind in the darkness blind. His voice like a dirge, rising over and over, raising the pins, raking them down his eyes, and at each stroke blood spurts from the roots, splashing his beard, a swirl of it, nerves and clots, black hail of blood pulsing, gushing down. These are the griefs that burst upon them both, coupling man and woman. The joy they had so lately, the fortune of their old ancestral house was deep joy indeed. Now in this one day, wailing, madness, and doom, death, disgrace, all the griefs in the world that you can name, all are theirs forever.
Oh, poor man, the misery. Has he any rest from pain now?
A voice within in torment. He's shouting, Loose the bolt, someone, show me to all of Thebes, my father's murderer, my mother's... No, I can't repeat it, it's unholy. Now he'll tear himself from his native earth, not linger, curse the house with his own curse, but he needs strength and a guide to lead him on. This is sickness more than he can bear.
The palace door's open.
Look, he'll show you himself. The great doors are opening, you're about to see a sight, a horror, even his mortal enemy would pity.
I agree. And since we've already talked about the tragic hero notes, they've already talked about pity, because even though, they do feel super grossed out, they do feel really, really bad for him.
Yeah, and we feel bad for him as an audience as well.
Absolutely. If you listen back, the first thing that the leader asks the messenger is, has he any rest from pain now? Now this could either be a really shallow question, considering he's just removed his eyeballs, like is he still hurting? But very likely the leader is asking him something else. The leader is likely asking him, has he done what Jocasta has done?
Yeah.
Is he dead now?
Yeah, basically. So Oedipus blinds himself, right? So physical and metaphorical blindness is something that has been pervasive all throughout this play, right? So when we say metaphorical blindness, what are we talking about?
Not real.
Yeah.
Tiresias physically could not see in front of him.
Correct. So when we're talking about metaphorical blindness, we're talking about the fact that Oedipus was blind to his reality. He was blind to his ancestry, he was blind to who he was married to the decisions he was making, all of those things. So Oedipus has been metaphorically blind for the entire play. It is only when he realizes, he has this epiphany about himself and his life.
When he can finally see.
When he can finally see that he physically blinds himself. right? The opposite of Oedipus then is Tiresias, who has been physically blind this entire time, but blessed with the sight of the gods and able to see what's going on. So Oedipus blinds himself for a couple of reasons. One, I think for Sophocles, it just fit really nicely into this motif of sight and blindness throughout the story. But the other reason, he gives us a reason. You'll see no more the pain I suffered, all the pain I caused. Too long you looked on the ones you never should have seen. So who's the you he's talking to here? It's his eyeballs, right? He's like talking to them.
That he should never have.
Yeah, that I never should have. So he's also punishing himself for things that he did unknowingly. So rather than allowing himself to continue to look on his daughters and his sons that he argues shouldn't exist, he removes that. Entire temptation.
All right, here we go. Enter Oedipus, blinded, led by a boy. He stands at the palace steps as if surveying his people once again.
Miss Fry, who also had those exact same stage directions.
I'm pretty sure this applied to Tiresias.
Tiresias
led by a boy.
In the exact same way, blind and led by a boy. So Oedipus has kind of become Tiresias to an extent here, right? He's physically blind, but he knows everything about himself. He doesn't know prophecy or anything, but he knows that.
Yep.
Oh, the terror, the suffering for all the world to see, the worst terror that ever met my eyes. What madness swept over you? What God, what dark power leapt beyond all bounds, beyond belief to crush your wretched life? God forsaken, crushed by the gods, I pity you, but I can't bear to look. I've much to ask, so much to learn, so much fascinates my eyes, but you, I shudder at the sight.
Oh, the agony. I am agony. Where am I going? Where on earth? Where does all this agony hurl me? Where's my voice? Winging, swept away on a dark tide, my destiny, my dark power. What a leap you made.
To the depths of terror, too dark to hear, to see.
Dark. Horror of darkness, my darkness, drowning, swirling around me, crashing wave on wave, unspeakable, irresistible headwind, fatal harbor. Oh, again the misery all at once, over and over, the stabbing dagger stab of memory raking me insane.
No wonder you suffer twice over, the pain of your wounds, the lasting grief of pain.
Dear friend, still here? Standing by me, still with a care for me, the blind man, such compassion, loyal to the last. Oh, it's you, I know you're here, dark as it is, I'd know you anywhere. Your voice, it's yours, clearly yours.
Dreadful what you've done. How could you bear it, gouging out your eyes? What superhuman power drove you on?
And this is one of the characteristics of the tragic hero notes, discovery. Apollo, friends, Apollo, he ordained my agonies, these my pains on pains, but the hand that struck my eyes was mine, mine alone, no one else. I did it all myself. What good were eyes to me? Nothing I could see could bring me joy.
What do you make of the repetition of I and mine there?
Do you want the positive interpretation or my interpretation?
Start with the positive.
The positive. He is taking responsibility for all of his actions.
Yes.
He's owning his part in what happened.
Yes.
And then his ego continues.
I mean, he's still Oedipus.
Yeah, he may have removed his side, but it's still like me.
It's not going to go anywhere, right? He's still the same person. You know, you don't change your personality overnight.
No.
You don't become humble overnight.
No.
Even when your whole life has been brought low. But,
that's exactly right.
yeah. It's sweet, though, how touched he is by the chorus.
Yes.
That they stuck around, like, you know, how he would have thought that everybody would have abandoned him.
I would have thought the show was too good to go home.
Yeah, for real. No, exactly as you say.
What can I ever see? What love, what call of the heart can touch my ears with joy? Nothing, friends. Take me away, far, far from Thebes. Quickly cast me away, my friends. This great murderous ruin, this man cursed to heaven, the man the deathless gods hate most of all.
Pitiful. You suffer so, you understand so much. I wish you had never known.
Really? Die. Die. Whoever he was that day in the wilds who cut my ankles free of the ruthless pens, he pulled me clear of death. He saved my life. But this kindness, curse him, kill him. If I died then, I'd never have dragged myself, my loved ones, through such hell.
Oh, if only. Would to God.
I'd never have come to this, my father's murderer, never been branded mother's husband. All men see me now loathed by the gods, son of the mother I defiled, coupling in my father's bed, spawning lives in the loins that spawned my wretched life. What grief can crown this grief? It's mine alone, my destiny. I am Oedipus.
Where have we heard that before?
I think I've said that a couple times.
Yeah.
I think I said it on the first page.
Opening line. Our introduction to Oedipus. You all know me, my fame, I am Oedipus. So before, when he said that, he didn't actually know who he was. So I always thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh.
He says this all-encompassing statement, I am Oedipus, with all of this confidence, as if he knows exactly who he is. But he doesn't. He has no idea.
Right.
So now when he says it,
I like that.
it's real. He knows exactly who he is. So it takes on a very different tone, I imagine.
Oh, it does.
So Oedipus has decided that his punishment for the murder of Laius is going to be exile, not death. And he's going to explain why he deserves exile and not death here in a minute. How can I say you've chosen for the best? Better to die than be alive and blind.
Wow. What I did was best. Don't lecture me. No more advice. I, with my eyes, how can I look my father in the eyes when I go down to death? Mother, so abused. I have done such things to the two of them, crimes too huge for hanging. Worse yet, the sight of my children, born as they were born, how could I long to look into their eyes? No, not with these eyes of mine, never. Not this city, either her high towers, the sacred glittering images of gods. I in misery, I her best son, reared as no other son of Thebes was ever reared. I've stripped myself, I gave the command myself, all men must cast away the great blasphemer, the curse now brought to light by the gods, the son of Laius, I, my father's son. Now, I've exposed my guilt, horrendous guilt. Could I train a level glance on you, my countrymen? Impossible. No, if I could just block off my ears, the springs of hearing, I would stop at nothing. I'd wall up my loathsome body like a prison, blind to the sound of life, not just the sight. Oblivion. What a blessing. For the mind to dwell a world away from pain.
So Oedipus reveals a couple of things here. One, his hatred of himself, which for an egotistical person must have been difficult. So he doesn't just want to be blind, he also wants to be deaf. He wants to experience nothing at all. So like he doesn't want death because death is, for the Greeks, would have been a continued existence. He wants nothingness, which again shows, he calls his body loathsome. Wall it off like a prison. Like it's pretty bad.
It's almost as if, and I disagree, agree, it's okay, it's a personal opinion. For many people, they believe that there are things worse than death. And I would absolutely argue
Nothingness, yeah.
that he has chosen that for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reasons that he gives for why he blinded himself were multifold, right? He doesn't want to see his mother and his father ever again. He doesn't want to look on his children ever again because he doesn't believe that he deserves to because of what he's done to them. He doesn't want to look on his city or his people ever again. So he's denying himself all these things that brought him joy. His parents, his wife, his children, his city, his countrymen. He denies all of those things from himself, which again, worse than death.
Absolutely. Now, when I continue, if you were looking at the text, you are going to see a variety of different stanzas. And each little paragraph, each little stanza that I'm going to be reading goes through each of the moments where I made a choice that led me directly to the prophecy. So I led a choice, fate got a hold of me, it hits each of the different parts that led me to this moment.
Yeah, he also talks about things that were out of his power as well.
He does.
And he does that even on page 320 where he talks about how he wished that he had died as an infant. So what his parents tried to do, he wishes had actually happened because then none of this would have happened.
Absolutely. Oh, Citharon, why did you give me shelter? Why didn't you take me, crush my life out on the spot? I'd never have revealed my birth to all mankind. Oh, Polybus, Corinth, the old house of my fathers, so I believed. What a handsome prince you raised. Under the skin, what sickness to the core. Look at me, born of outrage, outrage to the core. Oh, triple crossroads, it all comes back, the secret dark ravine and the oaks closing in, where the three roads join. You drank my father's blood, my own blood, spilled by my own hands. You still remember me? What things you saw me do? Then I came here and did them all once more. Marriages. Oh, marriage. You gave me birth, and once you brought me into the world, you brought my spur, rising back, springing to light, fathers, brothers, sons, one murderous breed, brides, wives, mothers. The blackest things a man can do, I have done them all. No more. It's wrong to name what's wrong to do. Quickly, for the love of God, hide me somewhere, kill me, hurl me into the sea where you can never look on me again. Love this. Beckoning to the chorus as they shrink away. Closer! It's all right. Touch the man of grief. Don't be afraid. My troubles are mine, and I am the only man alive who can sustain them.
So the choices he's talking about there, right, is being raised by Polybus as opposed to being just cast off into the trackless desert, surviving on Cithaeron when he should have died, killing Laius at the Triple Crossroads, marrying Jocasta, gross stuff, and then, yes, saying, I need to go.
All right, and now we're going to enter somebody that I'm pretty sure the last time I had a conversation with this guy, I created some family awkwardness. Enter Creon from the palace, attended by palace guards. All right, so put your request to Creon. Here he is, just when we need him. He'll have a plan, he'll act, now that he's the sole defense of the country in your place. Yeah. Oh, no. What can I say to him? How can I ever hope to win his trust? I wronged him so just now in every way. You must see that. I was so wrong. So wrong.
You have to give Oedipus that.
I will. He
recants it immediately.
He does own it.
I was wrong. So wrong.
It's still about him.
Yeah, sure.
But he owns it.
Yeah. I haven't come to mock you, Oedipus, or to criticize your former failings.
Turning to the guards.
You there, have you lost all respect for human feelings? At least revere the sun, the holy fire that keeps us all alive. Never expose a thing of guilt and holy dread so great it appalls the earth, the rain from heaven, the light of day. Get him into the hall as quickly as you can. Piety demands no less. Kindred alone should see a kinsman's shame. This is obscene. So Creon comes out like, it's alright. I'm not gonna hate on you for accusing me of murder and of conspiracy and of wanting your power.
Banishing me from the city.
Banishing me from the city. You're killing me. He wants him dead, remember? You want me banished? No, I want you dead. Yeah.
Yep.
So wanting him murdered, all those things. He's like, bygones be bygones. But then he says to the guards, never expose a thing of guilt and holy dread so great it appalls the sun. What's the thing? Oedipus.
I'm a thing.
Oedipus is so gross that the sun shouldn't have to look at him. So I would say that Creon has not forgiven.
It's a little passive aggressive, but
Oedipus's former failings.
That's nice. That's nice. And you do take control rather quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I'm pretty sure the last time you talked to me, you were like, dude, I don't want to be king.
But if it's given to me, what else will you do?
There you go. Please, in God's name, you wipe my fears away, coming so generously to me, the worst of men. Do one thing more, for your sake, not mine.
What do you want? Why so insistent?
Drive me out of the land at once, far from sight, where I can never hear a human voice.
I have done that already, I promise you. First, I wanted the god to clarify my duties.
The god? His command was clear. Every word, death for the father killer. The curse, he said, destroy me.
So he did. Still, in such a crisis, it's better to ask precisely what to do.
So miserable. You would consult the god about a man like me.
By all means. And this time, I assume even you will obey the god's decrees. So again, hasn't forgotten.
No. Alright, so technically I'm still the king. You're about to be king. My sons are too young to take the throne yet, so he's going to kind of do an interim situation. But before I leave as king, I'm going to give Creon a to-do list.
Yes.
And I'm going to give him this to-do list in front of the entire city because nobody's gone home. Now, if I'm giving you said to-do list in front of the entire city, why is that different than me doing it in private?
I can't claim I never heard any of these things. So it kind of binds me because he's put me on the spot in front of the entire chorus. And these are things that are not, he doesn't ask for selfish things. Like he asks for things that Creon should grant.
Absolutely. I mean, and you would find out if you were to ever read the play Antigone, which is one of the next stories that kind of follows Oedipus' children's lives. Creon shows up in that play, and Creon is very much a rule follower. He wants to stay inside the lines. So by me giving this in front of the entire city, it holds you to those rules that you really enjoy following. So here are the things I'm asking for. I will. And you, I command you, I beg you, the woman inside, bury her as you see fit. It's the only decent thing to give your own the last rites. As for me, never condemn the city of my fathers to house my body, not while I'm alive, no. Let me live on the mountains, on Citharon, my favorite haunt. I've made it famous. Mother and father marked that rock to be my everlasting tomb, buried alive. Let me die there, where they tried to kill me. Oh, but this I know. No sickness can destroy me. Nothing can. I would never have been saved from death. I've been saved for something great and terrible, something strange. Well, let my destiny come and take me on its way. About my children, Creon, the boys at least, don't burden yourself. They're men. Wherever they go, they'll find the means to live. But my 2 daughters, my poor helpless girls, clustering at our table, never without me hovering near them. Whatever I touched, they always had their share. Take care of them, I beg you. Wait, better, permit me, would you? Just to touch them with my hands and take our fill of tears, please. My king, grant it with all your noble heart. If I could hold them just once, I think I had them with me like the early days when I could see their eyes.
All right, so 4-ish things he asks of.
Yes.
He asks of Creon. Okay, so 1, marriage costume.
Yes.
With the last rites that would have been standard for Greeks. So like money on the eyes so that she can pay the ferryman Karen to take her across. Either burning or burying the body in holy ground, not just letting it rot in exposure.
Regardless of the fact that she committed suicide.
Right. She gets all these things.
Take care of your sister.
2, he wants to be exiled. And then 2a, he wants to be exiled on Citharon specifically.
Yes.
So his whole story comes full circle. Where he was supposed to die, he wants to live out his days. What's a little bit different about him saying, well, let my destiny come and take me on its way? How are we seeing a change in Oedipus' personality here?
Well, 15 years ago, he did everything in his power to avoid that destiny, to avoid that prophecy, and he slapped right into it. So now, at the very least, he is going to be accepting of what the gods said.
Just wait it out. Whatever's going to happen will happen. And then he talks about the girls.
The boys.
Well, he says the boys, don't burden yourself.
Shh. They're men, because every middle school boy I know is a man.
The girls,
There's the big one.
take care of them.
That's right.
Right?
And this would be huge, because at that time, without a father, without a husband, without some kind of caretaker, they have no means to make money, to own property, to live.
Can't do any of those things. They can't arrange their own marriages.
No.
So,
Absolutely.
they can't put together a dowry. All those things have to be done by somebody else. Usually their mother, or, a brother or whatever, but their brothers are too young. Creon's the only one left to do any of those things.
Right. And I do want to go ahead and bring this up, just so you can be thinking about it. His sons are the heir, or his son is supposed to be the heir to the throne. Oedipus is about to leave forever, never come back. He only asked Creon to see his girls before he leaves. He does not ask to see his sons. Sometimes it's what a character does not do that tells you a whole lot about their relationship.
Yeah. That maybe he doesn't have one with the boys.
There we go. Stage directions. Antigone and Ismene, 2 small children, led in from the palace by a nurse. What's that? Oh God, do I really hear you sobbing? My 2 children. Creon, you pitied me. Sent me my darling girls, my own flesh and blood. Am I right?
Yes, it's my doing. I know the joy they gave you all these years, the joy you must feel now.
Yeah, I feel joy now. sorry. Bless you, Creon. May God watch over you for this kindness, better than he ever guarded me. Children, where are you? Here, come quickly. Groping for Antigone and Ismene, who approach their father cautiously, then embrace him. Come to these hands of mine, your brother's hands, your own father's hands, that served his once bright eyes so well, that made them blind. Seeing nothing, children, knowing nothing, I became your father. I fathered you in the soil that gave me life. How I weep for you. I cannot see you now, just thinking of all your days to come. The bitterness, the life that rough mankind will thrust upon you. Where are the public gatherings you can join? The banquets of the clans? Home you'll come in tears, cut off from the sight of it all, the brilliant rites unfinished. And when you reach perfection, ripe for marriage, who will he be, my dear ones, risking all to shoulder the curse that weighs down my parents, yes, and you too, that wounds us all together? What more misery could you want? Your father killed his father, sowed his mother, one in the selfsame womb sprang you. He cropped the very roots of his existence. Such disgrace, and you must bear it all. Who will marry you then? Not a man on earth. Your doom is clear. You'll wither away to nothing, single, without a child.
That ends up coming true. Because we talked about it in the Theban legend, Ares didn't just curse Cadmus. He cursed every single person that was directly related to Cadmus, which includes Oedipus's 4 children. And we'll tell you about their not so great ends in a minute, because it ends with them. They're the end of the line, the end of Cadmus's line. So everybody knows that they're children of incest. Everybody knows that they carry a curse. No one is going to want to roll the dice with these girls ever, and really with the boys too. I can't see anybody wanting to marry into that, even with a kingdom.
Absolutely. And so that's the curse for those girls. It's to die single without a child. And at that point, for those royal girls, the greatest thing they could do would be to get married, have children, especially sons, to continue on with the royal bloodline.
And more power.
And none of that is going to be there for them.
No. So Creon's the only person that can protect them, because like he says, everyone else is going to shun them. No one is going to want to be around them because they've been so obviously cursed by the gods.
That's exactly right.
What's truly tragic is that, well, Laius made choices, Jocasta made choices, Oedipus made choices. The kids didn't. They were just victims, really,
and the odds
in every sense.
Yeah, the odds are Ismene, these girls are elementary age.
Yeah.
So Ismene could maybe be 5, 6 years old. So you can imagine a kindergartner or first grader processing the fact that mother has died today, father has blinded himself, is leaving today, uncle is going to take over. By the way, your entire family is cursed and nobody's ever going to love you or be friends with you.
Yeah.
It's a lot to get.
All of the above.
At one time.
Yeah.
Turning to Creon. Oh, Creon, you are the only father they have now. We who brought them into the world are gone, both gone at a stroke. Don't let them go begging, abandoned women without men, your own flesh and blood. Never bring them down to the level of my pains. Pity them. Look at them, so young, so vulnerable, shorn of everything. You're their only hope. Promise me, noble Creon, touch my hand.
Reaching toward Creon, who draws back.
You little ones, if you were old enough to understand, there is much I'd tell you. What else could he tell? I don't know. Okay. Now as it is, I'd have you say a prayer. Pray for life, my children. Live where you are free to grow and season. Pray God you find a better life than mine, the father who begot you.
So Oedipus wants what all parents want for their children, for their kids to have a better life than they did. They don't. At all. Eteocles and Polynices, which one's older? I always forget.
It's alphabetical, so Eteocles is older.
So Eteocles is supposed to take the throne.
Right.
Polynices starts a civil war.
Polynices, yeah, is actually married. They never have children. They never have children. But his father-in-law's city has an army, and they raise up against the city of Thebes.
Creon backs Eteocles.
Yes.
And so Eteocles and Polynices end up killing each other in this civil war.
On the battlefield, grand tragic moment.
It's like the Civil War all over again, like the one here.
Yeah.
And then Antigone wants to bury Polynices, correct?
Yes.
So Creon refuses.
Creon gets to be king again.
Gets to be king again.
Because the boys are gone.
Yeah, because they're both dead. So so he gets to be king. So Antigone wants to bury her brother, who Creon has decreed his body will be left out in the battlefield to be eaten by crows and vultures.
He's a traitor.
Because he's a traitor, because he should have, acquiesced to his brother's rule. And in not giving her that, Antigone?
Yeah. Yeah, Antigone says, Creon, I know that he's a traitor, but he's also my brother. I'm going to take care of my brother. And so Antigone buries him. She gets kind of caught doing it. Creon calls her up in front of the entire city and says, now, sweetheart, honey, baby, sweet child, you didn't really do it. And she's her dad's daughter. And she goes, yeah, I did it, and I'll do it again. And I don't have to listen to you. I only have to listen to the gods. Creon loses his mind. He banishes Antigone to live inside of a cave. He'd give her like food and water and stuff like that. Turns out Antigone is engaged.
I thought his meaning was engaged.
Antigone. Antigone is engaged to Creon's son. Just keep it in the family. Creon's son, Haman, goes up to Daddy and he's like, dude, you seriously banished my fiance? And Creon's like, yeah, I'm going to rule and it's going to be right according to the rules. And Haman was like, deuces, I'm going to go get my fiance and we're going to leave. Haman goes. He discovers that Antigone has already, like mother, like daughter, hung herself in a cave. No, I don't know how, but that's what happened. And then Haman gets there, he's so shaking mad at it that the moment that Creon shows up to get him, because Creon has been advised by Tiresias, who's not dead yet, and
never dies.
He never dies. So Creon owns what he did, goes to the tomb to go get Antigone. Turns out Antigone's dead. Haman's so mad that he takes his sword to like slice his dad. Turns out he slices his side open so the son dies. Creon gets back to the city and he discovers that word travels real fast and his wife has already cursed him and killed herself for ruining her chance of having grandkids. So anyway, at the end of the play, the only ones that are alive are Creon to rule and his meanie, who just kind of disappears into oblivion. Oh, oblivion.
Because everything horrible has happened to her family.
That's exactly right. So there you go, there's the curse.
So yeah, those are the kids. Enough. You wept enough. Into the palace now.
I must, but I find it very hard.
Time is the great healer, you will see.
I'm going. You know on what condition.
Tell me, I'm listening.
Drive me out of Thebes in exile.
Not I, only the gods can give you that.
Surely, surely the gods hate me so much.
You'll get your wish at once.
You consent.
I try to say what I mean, it's my habit.
Well then take me away, it's time.
Come along, let go of the children.
No! Don't take them away from me, not now, no! No, no! Stage directions. Clutching his daughters as the guards wrench them loose and take them through the palace doors.
Still the king, master of all things? No more. Here your power ends. None of your power follows you through life. Yeah.
Exit Oedipus and Creon to the palace. The chorus comes forward to address the audience directly.
People of Thebes, my countrymen, look on Oedipus. He solved the famous riddle with his brilliance. He rose to power, a man beyond all power. Who could behold his greatness without envy? Now what a black sea of terror has overwhelmed him. Now as we keep our watch and wait the final day, count no man happy till he dies, free of pain at last.
Exit in procession.
So the chorus kind of gets to give the theme, the moral of the story. And it's not a great one. Basically, it's that you might be happy now, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Yep.
Maybe everything gets ripped away from you and you die in shame, in exile.
Be careful with pride.
Yes, absolutely.
Always tell the truth.
Yes. And just until you're dead, you won't actually know if you're happy or not.
Yeah.
Something bad.
Absolutely. I like the idea of telling the truth.
Yes.
Telling the truth would keep most of them away from these issues.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, it talks about envy too, right? Trying to not be envious of other people because you never know what's going to happen to them.
That's true.
And that you don't know what life they're actually living. That's a good one for this day and age, right? Don't be jealous of your friends on Instagram and Snapchat. You know what their real life is.
That's exactly right. Filters can cover a lot.
Yeah, for real. So that's Oedipus. It is a tragedy.
Like the original tragedy.
Yeah, the first one. But a great play, lots to learn from it. And yeah, so it's been a pleasure, guys, and we'll see you in class.